Stephen Cowperthwaite, and I'm Principal and Managing Director at Avison Young in Liverpool. Yeah, so obviously I lead the office here. Historically, I've sat within the retail leisure team, but increasingly do more in a wider strategic development consultancy role. And then within the office, that managing director role for me is all about kind of ambassadorial, really, and making connections and forging relationships for so that we can get involved in some of those bigger conversations across the Liverpool City region. Well, we're a global real estate advisor. Avison Young acquired our business. We were formerly GVA back in 2019, so we've been with them for two and a half years now. And so we do the full life cycle of property, all the way through from planning right through to investment sales at the end. So it's a very, very broad thing and across all sectors of the industry. So commercial, real estate, residential, and everything from small shops up to the biggest developments, which are the ones that we like to be involved with, obviously. I mean, it goes back to before. It's a Canadian business. Really, in 2008 is when it started out with a new CEO and looked to expand and really to look at being a competitor to the other bigger global real estate advisors. And I think we are quite different in that respect. But yeah, so it grew from probably, I think it was about a $40 million business, Canadian business back in 2008, and now we're a $1 billion business globally with 5,000 people, of which 1,500 are in the UK. So we're certainly on an upward trajectory, but it's not expansion and profit at all costs. We're very conscious in terms of what we do. The ethos of the company is massively important to us. So it's connected with the right people and doing the right things as well is fundamentally important to us. I think it's our ethos. We're a principally owned business, so the principals within the business have a stake. So we're not kind of beholden to anonymous shareholders, if you like, which is a really good thing. So we can be a bit more nimble, I think, in terms of how we deal with our clients and interact with our clients. But fundamentally, it's our culture. We're powered by people, so we invest in top talent and give them the best tools to be able to do the job. And I think that then goes through in terms of how you deal with your clients. The people are the most important thing. So when we're looking at projects, you're not looking at things purely in terms of developing a building, full stop. It's about developing places, and also for me it's about outcomes. We look at things in terms of outcomes from developments as opposed to just outputs, which may sound kind of like the same thing, but how you have an impact on people's lives, be that through businesses, as employees, or the communities in which they actually, people live, I think is hugely important for us. So putting people right at the centre of everything that we do is absolutely fundamental to our ethos. And as I say, whether that's within the company or without the company, that's what really drives our focus. I think, we deal with everything from, small SMEs, as I say, could be somebody acquiring a shop unit on a high street, all the way through to, big corporates, big developers, big investors. So plainly, you have to tailor what you do for each of those different organisations. At the absolute, basic level for all of those, though, it's that trust, it's building relationships, and it's listening to your clients. I think for too many businesses, they kind of sell services to clients, regardless of what the client ultimately wants. So I think you have to listen to the client, take on board what their needs and requirements are, and then tailor what you do for them going forward. And as I say, you'll appreciate that that's quite diverse depending on what the nature of the client is. And for me, that's the most important part of what we do with a client, is taking the time to sit down with them and build that trusted strategic relationship with them. And ultimately, we're about creating value for clients, but that could be social value, it could be environmental value, and plainly it can be economic value as well. Well, we're pretty active in the Liverpool City region. We've got offices nationwide and globally, of course. But we're sat in our office here in the heart of Liverpool City Centre, and so my focus is plainly across the Liverpool City region. And really, it's then bringing in national expertise where we need it, but aligning that to our local expertise as well. So we've got market-facing, transactional people within the Liverpool office who just understand the market, whether that's retail or offices, industrial or residential. So in terms of the bigger projects, the most recent mandate that we've won, which hit the press, is we've been instructed by Sefton to advise them on the transformation of the Strand shopping centre, which is an asset they acquired back in 2017. And it's well publicised in terms of the issues on the high street with shopping centres, the decline of retail, the rise of online, and then the pandemic swept through and had a further thing. And really what you've seen is an acceleration of changes in the retail sector over the last 18 months, changes that were already happening but have become much more fundamental. And so assets like the Strand is hugely important as to what you do with that. Sefton own it, they have control of it. Now they need to make it fit for purpose moving forward. So that's really interesting because I think, it sits right at the heart of a community in Bootle. So, our role is to work with Sefton, but importantly to work with the community to get something that they can have pride in, and will engage with it going forward as well. So that's one that we're really proud to be involved with, because I think it can be truly transformative in terms of what we ultimately look to achieve there. But then beyond that, we're working with Knowsley across Huyton, Prescott and Kirby town centres, working with Wirral Council. We've supported them on the Birkenhead regeneration framework, which again is a significant piece of work, and that's now moving into delivery phase as they look to improve the town centre in Birkenhead and the wider borough as well. And then I'm looking down at the river across the Liver Birds now. So, we work with Peel on Liverpool Waters. We work with Wirral, Peel over at Wirral Waters as well, which is, both of those are significant developments, huge regeneration, 20, 30-year regeneration projects. So proud to be involved with them. We're working with Queensbury, who own the Met Quarter, which is a fantastic example of a shopping centre that's being repurposed, bringing Liverpool Media Academy into it and all the students now as part of that. So it's a great one. So we're working in terms of the letting of that space from a retail leisure perspective. Similarly with Augur, who own the old Lewis's building, and working with the City Council on the Central Station Shopping Centre adjoining that. And that's a real key asset in terms of Liverpool, where it sits right at the gateway to the Knowledge Quarter, with 16, 17 million passengers a year go through Central Station. So it's massively important that what we do with that going forward is, strategically the right thing. And then as you move up the hill, so kind of started at the water down here and move our way up the hill, we acted for the City Council to produce the strategic regeneration framework for Upper Central, which, as I say, it's that gateway into the Knowledge Quarter, and then working on the likes of Paddington Village with the spine and the developments coming there, and across the Knowledge Quarter as well. So top to bottom in Liverpool City Centre and right across the Liverpool City region, we're pretty heavily involved, and it's great to be attached to those big strategic projects that are long term. There's a longevity to them. They're 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and they're projects that will have a real impact on people's lives going forward. So, how we go about working with our clients and other key stakeholders in those situations from an environment perspective, which is obviously a massive issue for everybody moving forward. And I think in that context, that's where it's important to have the voice of youth within those conversations, because ultimately we're creating places for the future generations. We've got that national expertise and even global expertise. So it's a blend of the two, really, to be able to collaborate together on those. Yeah, we're still on a growth trajectory as a business, but as I said at the start, it's not growth for growth's sake. We tailor what we do for our clients. Increasingly, we're making a lot of investment into data and technology because that's so important, notwithstanding outages for Facebook, etc. yesterday. But that availability of data for clients, historically the property sector, it was kind of a little bit like this when it came to information, but data is so much more available. So it's important that we have access to really good data, but then we've got the people who can interpret that data and, from a kind of consultative perspective, bring intelligence to it that can then inform decisions. So I think that's really important. For me, as I say, it's about creating places for the future. So the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we want to be involved in the big projects that are really creating places. And it ties back into what I said around the youth question. So you'll know I wear, another hat as the chair of the Liverpool Place partnership, where we've just launched a new youth board. And the whole idea of that is to get that youth engaged in the conversation and to take on board, what's important to them moving forward. But I think then, and again, for us as a business, it's about diversification as well is really, really important, because having different, diversity of thought as much as anything else, which is what diversity brings in any event. And I think you need that to create better places as well. So for me and for Avison Young, the future is not just we may be planners and surveyors, historically property consultancy, but I think bringing different types of people into the business is massively important. So that's kind of where we want to be, how we want to go forward on things. And in that context, we've got people in the office, Remy in particular, who's leading our schools engagement program. So that's really to get into schools at an earlier age, speak to people who have maybe never ever thought about a job in the industry, that will open up their eyes to it. And again, it helps us bring in a different type of person into the organisation and into the property sector from a wider perspective. So I think that's quite exciting to be able to, deliver on that diversity going forward. Well, we're obviously on the website or phones. There's any number of different ways. I love meeting people, and that's a great thing about being in the property sector is it is about building those relationships up. So, but we've got a great team here. Make a phone call, get in touch via email, go onto our website at avisonyoung.com. You'll see a whole range of thought leadership in there in terms of, looking at future trends, what are those big global things that are having an impact on our lives, and how does that affect us, and how does that affect the property industry as well. Be curious and get in touch with us. Absolutely, we're open for conversations anytime. For me, it's strategic. It's important to have a strategic relationship, and plainly, that's what we can have with Downtown. We've specifically signed up to look at, is the Northern Powerhouse dead? Is it a gimmick? What does levelling up mean? What does devolution mean? From an opportunity perspective for Liverpool City region, but across our northern offices, where are those growth opportunities, and how can we influence those conversations? And as I say, it comes back to place, doesn't it? It's about creating places, and what can we bring into the Liverpool City region through the levelling up agenda. So ultimately, we'll hold a series of events with yourselves to engage with business leaders and academics, and just to engage in that conversation really as to how we can move forward. And ultimately, what we want to achieve is to produce a white paper that we can take to government and give our thoughts and our interpretation, because devolution for me is about it's having that local voice where we're the people who know our cities and our regions, and the role the private sector plays in that conversation is huge. You know, it should just not be a political public sector discussion. I think you can amplify the voice considerably by public and private sector working together. So Plainly Downtown have that. You've got a great network, great contacts that we can, you know, collaborate with and work together. So yeah, it's exciting times, I think.
If you enjoyed that video, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel on the link below and be among the first to get to listen to all the latest interviews through the Downtown Den.